Great. Hi, hello. Hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for joining this evening. So we are live on LinkedIn, we are live on YouTube, and we are live on Facebook. Unfortunately, YouTube or LinkedIn do not have the share screening feature. Looks like Facebook has got share screening feature. Whatever, I will wherever whichever platform there is a possibility of screening the share, I will do that. Otherwise, I will probably talk to you. Great. I'm able to see your comments, and so like regular as usual, let me structure our interaction for today so that we are effective. Yeah. Now, so this is how I would like to structure our interaction for today. I have received lot many queries during session one as well as after session one through personal messages and comments on the post. I have segregated all of them into these below points. One is charging infrastructure. What is happening in charging infrastructure? And probably you are a professional or you're an entrepreneur or you have a family business or you wanted to start something new, and electric vehicle market is of course is a sunrise industry at this point of time, and you really want to understand what opportunities are there other than the heavy investment required manufacturing. I will talk about that also. Then some of you asked, what is the detailed written off investment working between a regular electric vehicle as well as an internal combustion engine vehicle? I will of course talk about it. Then effect of COVID-19 on EV market, what it is going to be. I will of course talk on auto industry and then touch base upon the EV market. Most importantly, I will also kind of speak about what Avan India is doing right now, what are the various business models that we are working on, and how can you be a collaborator or a participant in that particular complete ecosystem. Is it clear so far? Okay, I've just realized that I haven't gone live on Facebook. I didn't press the button, but then I think it is okay. So hi everybody who is watching on live. I just missed to click the video button. But then the agenda for today is we will talk the queries that were raised during session one, and those queries are also categorized into multiple subtopics such as charging infra. Then what are the other opportunities other than manufacturing in EV industry? Then what is the detailed ROI working between ICE and EVs? Then what is the effect of COVID-19 on EV market? Uh, while I talk about this, I will also brief on what Avan India, the company that I'm running, what it is doing right now, and how can you be a collaborator, or how can you fit into the complete ecosystem, and then gain value and then start adding value to yourself. Yeah. So with this, let me go to the next slide. So these are the categories of, these are the different queries that I have received. Some of them, one is from Palash. Palash was asking about how will market perform after COVID-19 crisis, how to increase sales of EVs in India post-lockdown period, strategies EV startups should take to sustain in this period, and how is the future of charging infra in coming period. Palash, I'll be addressing all these points. Then there are two from Kiran Kumar. What about charging points and can solar energy be used to charge batteries? We will talk about that too. Abhilash Manikanta, he spoke about, is it possible for EVs to ease regulations of renewable energy resources and make it mandatory for charging docks? We will talk about this too. Then one from Sunil. How can EV replace ICE vehicles in logistics business? I think this is the business I'm into, and I'm very much excited to talk about this particular point. And what kind of business models you would suggest for these startups? I think this is going to be the crux of our discussion, where you will gain a lot of, I would say, insights and knowledge from this. Then there is one more from Manasa. It talks about, hi, from this previous session, I've observed that most of our concerns were related to commercial viability of EVs. But after reading many articles supporting use of EVs, My question is, should we worry about break even at this or keep encouraging more and more use of EVs? So I think this is a very valid question again. But then, as I said, in the business models discussion, I will be covering what could be the possible business models that one could take care. And as I also mentioned in the comment, any business that doesn't bring viability will soon see its natural death, right? So I think it is very important to understand what kind of business model one can consider to really start. And then there are business models. When I talk about the detailed ROI between an ICE and EV, I will speak from the logistics perspective. Then you will understand what are the different possibilities of building sustainable business models. So whoever have joined, you can say hi so that I understood that I can understand that people have joined. And if at all there are any particular questions, you can. Hi Bhanu Prakash, hi Kedar, good to see you Kedar. Hi Abhilash, good to see you. And there are any specific questions, of course you can continue to post. Since I will swap between Facebook Live and YouTube Live, don't be bothered. There would be a little disturbance here and there, but I will ensure that this goes as smooth as possible. Now, let me come to the first point, that is charging infrastructure. Now, when you look at FAMES 2.0, right, the the total investment that the government has set aside uh, for promotion of electric vehicles in India is around 10,000 crores, of which around 8,600 crores is going towards demand incentives, which is basically into incentivization of vehicles for the buyers as well as for the manufacturers. And 500 crore and around 1,000 crores is going into charging infrastructure. And of course, rest of around 40 crores is going towards the administrative expenditure. And of course, around 360 crores is a carry forward from phase one, that is left over from phase 1.0. So that means the government has already dedicated a fund of 1,000 crores, right, for the next 3 years through FAMES 2.0. And this is not the conclusion, this is just the beginning of it. Now we will talk about what this charging infrastructure has got to do, what are the different possibilities that exist. Now, just to understand what exactly is a charging infrastructure, basically we have multiple product portfolios, right? Say, for example, we have two-wheelers, we have three-wheelers, we have four-wheelers, and we have buses. These are the major product portfolios in the electric vehicles. Now, in general, two-wheelers and the charging infra are generally slow chargers, which can be equipped as much as possible from the domestic supplies, that is from our home. So we will not talk much about it. We will probably talk more about three-wheelers and four-wheelers, but then the kind of next couple of slides that I'm going to talk about will maximum be applied to four-wheelers. Okay. Now let's look into what are the different charging infrastructure protocols that are in the world. There are majorly three protocols in the world. One is GB by T, other one is CHAdeMO, and then the third one is CCS. Now, why there are three protocols? Of course, this is a budding industry, and everyone wants to have a lion's share into it, right? For example, if you looked at the initial phones that have come, earlier there were multiple, charging pins. Nokia has got its own charging pin, Samsung has got its own charging pins, and multiple such things. But then, as the industry developed and then as the consolidation happened, then came standardization, right? Though may not be exactly similar, but we can also consider this as one. Every market wants to have their dominance. For example, Chinese market wants to have a dominance on electric vehicles, and hence they have developed their own protocol called GB by T. Then the Japanese companies said that, hey, why do we have to follow Chinese protocols? Let us develop our own. And hence they developed something called CHAdeMO. Then the European companies like BMW, Volkswagen, right, Daimler Chrysler, they said, why do we have to follow China or Japan? Why not we have our own, right? Whether it is Ford also comes into this. And they have CCS protocol. While these are all one hand, then our great Musk said, to hell with all of you. I really do not care what you're going to. Mine is a different league altogether, and I will develop Tesla superchargers. So, though in majority there are three: GB by T, CHAdeMO, and CCS, but then Tesla has got its own charging, I would say, protocol. Now, your question, I'm sure, would be, what is India adopting right now? Yes, Abhilash, I will definitely talk about scope of career for the students in the field of EV after BTech and MBA. I will talk about this. And this knowledge, what I'm sharing, will definitely help you to build your perspective. Keep asking your questions. I will answer them right at the right time. Hi, Sunil. Hi, Mansa. Hi, Praveen. Yeah. So we saw, right, there are multiple protocols. And then unfortunately, India hasn't yet developed its own protocol. But then India always takes a smarter approach. So India said that, hey, anyway, these companies of China, we cannot influence them. Companies of Japan and Europe and US and Tesla, we cannot really influence them. Let me open up all protocols, right, in my country. So India, the charging infra protocol says that, right, we will have kiosks for GB by T, we have kiosks for CHAdeMO, we have kiosks for CCS also. For example, majority of the buses that are running in India, that is Electra Green or BYD buses that are running in Hyderabad, Mumbai, Bangalore, right? All these electric buses are under the GB by T protocol. Similarly, Mahindra E2O and Tata Tigor are GB by T, whereas Nissan Leaf, right, is different. Correct. So these are the different, I would say, charging protocols. And then I want you to look at this is of course available on the internet, but I have brought it out for you so that you can go through it and then get whatever is required at the earliest without wasting much time. So the Ministry of Power has released certain guidelines in 2000. Of course, first they released in 2018 December, and then they recently released one in 2019 October, where this is the gist of it for you to see, but then I will clarify and I will classify things. So according to them, there are two kinds of chargers. One is fast charging, other one is slow charging. When we talk about slow charging, these are the 15 kilowatt hour kind of chargers, which are also called as Bharat DC or Bharat AC. Bharat AC is 10 kilowatt and Bharat DC are 15 kilowatt chargers. When we talk about fast charging, that is where the combined, right, either the CCO, CCS or CHAdeMO or GB by T things come into picture. So government has given a very clear guidelines of, if at all you're an individual and you wanted to get a charging infra at your place, what are the guidelines that you need to follow? And if you are an entrepreneur and you really want to establish and consider this as one kind of a business opportunity, let me read few of them for you, right? So it says that an exclusive transformer, either to the capacity of 33 or 11 kilovolt, right, you need to have. You also need to have appropriate civil works that are to be done, then cabling and electrical works ensuring safety, then adequate space for charging of an entry and exit of vehicles, right? Public charging station shall have any one or more chargers or any combination of the chargers from the table given below. You can Google, right, charging guidelines by Ministry of Power, and then you can get this. Now, you might say, okay, what is the plan of the government, right, in terms of this? That is also given very clearly there. This is the policy rollout from the government. Government has categorized, right, the complete geography into two kind of cities, and accordingly it built two phases. Phase one is from 1 to 3 years. Phase two is from 3 to 5 years. So all mega cities are the cities which have population of more than 4 million plus as per 2011 census, and all the express highways connected to these mega cities and important highways connected to with each of these mega cities, these come under phase one. That means their focus would be in the next 1 to 3 years. Then phase two cities, next 3 to 5 years are big cities like state capitals or UT headquarters or some other clustered cities, right, where it is evident and things that these are to happen, and those come under 3 to 5 years phase two. Now, the phase one cities are, say, example, Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Ahmedabad, Chennai, Kolkata, Surat, and Pune. So, government has already released, right, its plan for the next 5 years, 1 to 3 and 3 to 5. It also spoke about the kind of the fund it has allocated for the development of it. It also gave guidelines, right, of how this can be handled. In fact, when you go through this particular policy, the guidelines in detail, it also talks that how the DESCOMs need to be cooperative, right, for those who are applying for these kind of right permissions and roles to ensure that the faster adoption of charging infra to happen. Along with this, the government entities such as BPCL, IOCL, HPCL, these are also given clear mandates to identify those outlets in these cities that we spoke about, which have the fire and hazard safety regulations rolled out, and which have the complete compliance to whatever things that have been released so far, so that these will also have the government will directly invest into these fuel stations and kind of convert partially into charging infra. So to answer the question that I will not buy an electric vehicle because I don't have a charging infra, or will electric vehicles be sustainable because there is no charging infra, I think the answer we will see it very soon. There is a clear cut guidance and there is clear cut strategy of the government, and the government is doing really and rightly well to that regard. Now, let me come to the interesting point. Now that the charging infra we have spoken about, now what are the different opportunities in EV industry? Whether you're a student or whether you're a professional, you're considering a transition to EV industry. You could be into R&D, you could be into procurement, you could be into sales or marketing or service or whatsoever, right? What are the possibilities? Whether they're manufacturing, we clearly know the possibilities that exist. So then let me talk again. I will probably speak this from the logistics perspective. I will also tell you the reason why I speak from logistics perspective. But in terms of passenger movement, also it is kind of applicable. Now let me explain you the reason why I am talking from the logistics perspective. Electric vehicles such as, for example, Mahindra Reva car has been existent, I think, for more than, I would say, a decade and a half, 15 years or 16 years. But then you look at the penetration of those cars, it is very less. Similarly, Hero has launched electric vehicles almost 10 years ago. Very few enthusiasts purchase those products, but the penetration is not really great. Now, why the penetration is not really great for four-wheelers and two-wheelers? The answer is very simple. Those are not institutions, those are individuals. And for an individual, you cannot impose, right, that he will have to buy unless there is a policy change. For example, the policy change that would soon come is all BS4 vehicle sales have to stop and BS6 vehicle sales have to begin. When those institutional policy changes comes, then of course customers will not have any choice. But then until the choices come, customer will always have a choice. And when customer has a choice, it is very, very difficult to influence a B2C customer for pushing him to buy an electric vehicle. That is the reason government has identified low hanging fruits, because the intent is like, of course, the title of our presentation is lockdown a vaccine to pollution, right? Last presentation we saw that 30% of pollution is contributed by the auto sector. Definitely with the industries also cutting down their pollution, but then the automotive sector's contribution into the pollution cannot be undermined. And because the vehicles have stopped, there are also news that Himalayas can be seen right from as far as 200, 300 kilometers, which is all good. And in fact, if we were to maintain such a healthy living, if we were to maintain such a consistent and pro and sustainable developmental living, then we cannot afford to lose the momentum that has been built so far on electric vehicles, right? So now for the government, the low-hanging fruits are, number one, definitely the in-house demand. In-house demand is nothing but mass mobility, right? For example, government can bring at any point of time a simple rule and say that, hey, since state transport units are in my control and I can give whatever funding that is required, I will ensure that all the state transport units, at least from major cities that we spoke about, say for example Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, X% of these buses should be electric, right? And then the kind of financial requirement that is required, of course, the government brings. So that is how initially in the FAMES 1.0, when this also I have highlighted last time, FAMES 1.0, when you look at the subsidies thing, close to 44% of the buses cost is borne by the you see this by the government, especially in terms of buses. That is the reason companies like Electra Green, Tatas, and Ashok Leylands are focusing more on the bus manufacturing. So that is definitely one low hanging fruit. So government has taken the right approach there. Period. The second low hanging fruit is it is difficult to influence a B2C customer, but it is easy to institutionalize. That is, it is easy for government to say, hey, Olas and Ubers, right? You have so many millions of cars in your platform. Let us start from you, right? Every year on, I would like to see X% of your complete total car park to be electric, right? This is again an institutional right step which is easy to implement. Similarly for Zoom Electric. Now this is the second low hanging fruit, which of course government is doing it. The third low hanging fruit is the logistics. Why? Because if you see the in-city movement or the intercity movement, other than next to the people, if at all there are any products that are moving, that is completely into transport, supply chain, and these. Now imagine if all the if there is a regulation or if there is a guidelines that is brought. Of course certain states are already bringing it. Example, Delhi, you should look at Delhi's electric vehicle policy. Go download and look at it. It has got restricted zones where, right, the regular diesel vehicles cannot enter, right? And it is also incentivizing the electric vehicles. For example, in certain zones, if you have an electric vehicle, you do not have any restrictions in the movement. That means you can run from any time to any time. Whereas for a diesel vehicle, you cannot run between 11 a.m. in the morning and 4 p.m. in the afternoon. That means all your deliveries you will have to do before 11 a.m. or if required only after 4 p.m. But then there are no such kind of regulations for the EVs. Similarly, there are also cases where electric vehicles also have got a specific parking slots, right, available again on the regular public places. So these are all the other low-hanging fruits is the logistics sector, and then in logistics sector, the product portfolio that we are looking about are definitely four-wheeler category, which are either Tata Ace or Mahindra Jeeto or Ashok Leyland, those which are one-tonners who run in the cities 80 to 100 kilometers range, make the deliveries to the customers or between B2B. And then the next significant product to this is the three-wheelers, right? Electric three-wheelers, because three-wheelers, fortunately, right, if you look at the complete electric vehicle market, three-wheelers are the products where the cost parity between a regular existing diesel slash CNG and an EV, the parity is almost good, and hence you can obviously right look at that as a low hanging fruit, because once you can demonstrate the technology, you can demonstrate the product, and you can demonstrate the endurance and the robustness of these products, then three wheelers is the other low hanging fruit. Now from this perspective, why is this again so? If you look at this particular slide, right, logistics, whether it is 3PL and express and everything, it is in total around a 6,000 billion industry, which has got major players running this industry, and hence logistics cannot be ignored. Now these are all different brands that are running the logistics industry in the country right now, and we are very proud to say that Gati has taken a lead, especially through its operations either with IKEA and now with the Big Basket, and going forward with Amazon and Flipkart. Gati has taken the lead, right? So and hence logistics becomes the low hanging fruit for the government as well as for the other ecosystem players to focus on this industry for the faster adoption of electric vehicles. Now even in logistics, let me further break down the problem. Are there any questions? Can I see? Sorry, I'm just at the presentation. So will people in general be comfortable traveling in public or taxi mode post COVID? uh, Bhanu Prakash, we will definitely people will not be comfortable. We will talk about it. We will talk about this when I come to the COVID-19 effect. And friends from Facebook, please feel free to post your queries. I'll be happy to answer them. So now, in general, the logistics movement is basically categorized into three, right? One is the first mile, second one is middle mile, third one is last mile. First mile is aggregation or segregation of goods, which and then middle mile is from city, say for example Delhi, and if I are there to move to Kanyakumari, that is the middle mile, and then the last mile is within Kanyakumari, delivering them to the customers. This is the last mile, right? Now let me talk about again the among all these three. Again, the low hanging fruit, the easy adopting signal or sector is the last mile opportunity, last mile deliveries. Why is it easy? And because simple, the number of kilometers that any vehicle has to run is limited, hardly 70 to 80 kilometers. And anything that happens in the city, it is very easy to go address that particular vehicle and then fix it up. Third one, it will reduce the pollution where people are living, we are living, right? And then so all these problems could be solved when electric vehicles can be deployed for the last mile deliveries. And Avan, which is the group that has been formed to address this problem, solves this problem. Now I'm coming to the important point of what are the possible business models that I'm talking about, and what is the business model of Avan, and how can you be a participant or a contributor to it. uh, Okay, so the three possible business verticals are definitely: number one, manufacturing or trading electric vehicle components; number two, entering into charging infra development; and number three, creating a marketplace for EVs. Now, let me focus on the third one, because market manufacturing and trading, everybody is aware. If you have real good, I would say, a good funds at your disposal to start, then you can definitely get into some kind of companies who are based out of China, understand how they are working, and then try to develop the technology by your own. Or there are many startups that are working in India, you can kind of invest into them and work along with them. Charging infra, we just spoke the vision of sight of the government, and then the funds that are allocated and how you can approach. Of course, don't expect me to kind of peel the banana and feed it to you. These are just the right. I'm touching the areas, and then basis your interest, you can kind of pick and then do a deeper research, and then of course write to me always for further insights. And then the third most important thing is marketplace for EVs. Why? Because as I said, it is very difficult to convince an end customer when he has an option between a reliable and proven diesel vehicle and a marketplace for and then an electric vehicle. However, and hence there is always a risk of ownership. That means either the individuals or the companies who actually need the last mile deliveries are not really looking into the owning of assets. That is where the marketplace can come into picture. What exactly is a marketplace? I, as a company, will own the assets. I will deploy these products at my customer's place, give them the right service, and I will ensure that these assets are utilized maximum, so that I can still afford to give the services at the same cost what a diesel vehicle could be given. Is it interesting? If it is interesting and if you are able to follow, I want you to type interesting and we are able to follow. Otherwise, it is very, very strange to me to connect virtually, because in conferences, etc., I can speak to the people and then I can see their response and answer them. Here, I feel like I'm talking to myself. If it is interesting and you're able to follow, please type in there along with your queries. Yes? Okay, let me continue. Let me tell you. So as I said, the focus, the possible thing is marketplace for EVs, and that is where exactly Avan is adding value to the ecosystem. And this is how you can see. Let me now sum it for you. What are all the different, I would say, elements in the last mile delivery ecosystem? Number one, definitely owning of vehicles. Number two, maintaining of vehicles. Number three, mobilizing the right resources. That means training the people who will be able to drive those vehicles, maintain those vehicles, and make deliveries. Fourth one is charging infrastructure. And all together, as a solution, is given by Avan India to customers, not only like Big Basket, but to Mintras and Flipkarts and Amazons, right? Those are some of our products which we are already using. Now, you pick up where you wanted to contribute. If you say that, hey, I can mobilize people and I can train people, and then create a funnel of trained expert drivers and delivery persons, then pick that up. If you say that, no, I have an expertise, I can develop teams who can kind of maintain these vehicles, who can provide services to the vehicles, pick it up. Or if you say that, no, I'm more keen on interesting in operations, I really want to be part of these delivery operations and then see how it is going on, pick it up. So other than, see, Avan India is not manufacturing any vehicles, but at the same time, we are able to offer to our customers which the other players are not able to offer. And I'm encouraging you to pick one of these areas, and then you can, if at all you are interested, you can kind of collaborate and join with us and then see how this can be given. Even in the times of COVID-19, again, to bring to your notice, we have been delivering every day to our customers in Hyderabad, right? Customers of Big Basket delivered through our Avan India vehicles, right? So these are all the possible different business models and business elements which you can pick up on. Of course, installation and maintenance of charging infra also, which you can kind of pick up and then move forward. Now, are you with me? Let me go to a very, very interesting case right now, which I'll be talking about. The Okay, uh, looks like there is a technical glitch in the Facebook. So sorry, please log in again. Now let me take you through a very, very uh, great, so interesting. Can't we practice asset light model used by different players in the industry? Yes, Vishant, you are absolutely correct. But then see, asset light model, in the sense, what does that mean? Now I have the requirement, I want the requirement to be met, but I want to do it without actually owning the assets. Then, if I do not own the assets, then somebody has to own it, right? So that ownership, if the ownership ideal way of this being successful is, if the end driver, say for example, a person who is driving a Tata Ace or a person who is driving a Bajaj Ape or Piaggio Ace, right? If these people choose to discard their old vehicle and then start owning these electric vehicles and using them, I think that's the best asset life model. But then at this point of time, nobody is doing it. So, and hence it is an opportunity for players like Avan India, right, to be able to own those assets, deploy those same assets with multiple customers, give employment opportunities to drivers, right, and yet generate, right, a lot of value and a lot of revenue. I think I was able to answer that question, Vishant. I will, of course, keep the QA to the end. Another 10 minutes, I will finish the presentation. Generally, any live interaction is basically people get into kind of Q&A, but I believe that way it will not be effective because the content is important, the sharing of knowledge is important. End of this live session, you should not feel that you have interacted with somebody, you posted certain questions, and then kind of you went off. No, I really want you to take, I want you all to become in your own domain a little knowledgeable than what you were before the live to what you are after the live, right? And be aware of the opportunities in the electric vehicles industry, and then see how, right, you can benefit from it. That is the reason I will take the questions to the end, and I will continue with the content that I have built. Now let me uh, let me open up the profitability worksheet that I have worked out for you. Since we do not have a screen sharing option at live, so I will kind of what do I mean? I will I'll kind of read out these numbers for you. You can pick it up, and if you want to note them down, you can note them down. I have taken the rough costing of an high-end three-wheeler electric vehicles to be at around 3 lakh rupees, and then a four-wheeler diesel Tata is to be at around 4.5 lakh rupees, and then a Piaggio Ape to be at around 2 point say 3 lakh rupees. This is the capital cost. Now, uh, considering the down payment of roughly say I would say down payment of 0% and interest rate of 10% for about 48 months time, the EMI accordingly works out for electric vehicle at around 7,000 rupees, for Tata Ace at around 11,000 rupees, and probably for Piaggio Ape at around 5,700 rupees. This is the EMI, right? We have invested into capital cost, and then this is the monthly outflow that is going. Now, let me look at the other costs such as insurance cost, how much it would cost. Again, roughly 500 for an electric vehicle, around 900, uh, 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 900 for a Ace, and then around again 500 rupees for a diesel vehicle. So this is the insurance cost. This is again part of the fixed cost. Now, in terms of variable cost more from perspective of maintenance. For example, tire hubs and grease for electric vehicles around 370 rupees, for Ace around 550 rupees, and for diesel vehicles it is around 760 rupees. Please be see, for example, in Ace etc. you need to have engine oil, then oil filters, air filters, all those things. But then in electric vehicles, you don't need all of them. All you need is a brake fluid, a brake oil, because see, electric vehicles is not a rocket science. For example, if you, I'm sure boys generally love cars, right? And if you look at when we go back to our childhood memories, what would be our favorite cars? Definitely electric cars, right? And what those cars are? Simple. Those are battery driven cars. You put the battery, and the battery supplies the power that is required to the small motors that are connected to the wheels, and then the motors run and then the cars move. Now, electric vehicle is safe, but just that the scale has increased. Earlier, the toy car has got a dummy driver in it, but then now, if I and you want to drive, we cannot drive in the toy car, and then it is scaled up to a real cycle. And since it is again an uncontrolled, for example, toy car is in a very controlled environment, but it is again an uncontrolled environment. We need to bring a lot of algorithms and complexities and processors, etc., to take care of the entire thing. But otherwise, it is very simple: energy source, motor, vehicles, and all these intelligently controlled by some kind of a processors or electronic control units. That's it. So electric vehicles is not rocket science. It is simple, but yes, as simple as I said, when you get into the details, it gets even more complicated. Okay. Now let me go to this particular model that I'm talking about. So and then these variable costs, as I mentioned roughly. Now coming to the number of units consumption and range. For example, the requirement is that every vehicle needs to run say 100 kilometers a day. Then for an electric vehicle, the number of units that are required, say, is for example 8 units, and so 7 units. Okay, and let me take the cost of commercial unit is around 10 rupees. That means 70 rupees is the total fuel cost for electric vehicles. Now let me take an average of, say, for example, 15 to 20 kilometers for a Tata Ace, and similarly 15 to 20 kilometers for a diesel. So for it to run around 100 kilometers a day, we need around 6 liters. And then taking a diesel cost roughly at around 80 rupees, it is around 480 rupees. Similar is the case for the diesel auto also. So when you look at the running cost itself is 70 rupees 100 kilometers or 70 kilometers is roughly 70 paisa to 1 rupee. And 480 rupees, because 6 liters into 80, 480 rupees for about 100 kilometers is again 4.8 rupees per kilometer, right? This is the running cost. Now, just from the vehicle running cost itself, the electric vehicle cost running cost is around zero point 0.7 to 1 rupee, and then or 1 rupee 20-30 paisa. And then for a regular vehicle, the cost is around for around 5 rupees, right? Now, in the place of this Tata Ace, you can of course develop the same model with any electric four-wheelers car that you are considering to buy. You will get the math. Now, just the variable cost alone, the difference it is almost one fifth of what the cost of an diesel vehicle is. But then, as I initially considered the capital cost and etc. for a period of 48 months, etc., when I bring the EMIs, the capital cost, the maintenance cost, everything, insurance, everything into consideration, the kind of per kilometer cost, right? When I bring the capital cost as well as the running cost into consideration, for electric vehicles, logistics three-wheeler auto, it would be around 4 rupees. And for a Tata Ace, it would be around 10 rupees. And for a diesel, it would be around 7.5 rupees, right? So if you look at the model which I've just explained, it is very evident and clear that the total cost of ownership, right, in an electric vehicle, when you take a time of 4 years to 5 years, is much, much better than a regular vehicle. But all you need to do is ensure that these vehicles run as many kilometers as possible. Now, now that I have established that the total cost of ownership of electric vehicles is much lesser, right? When you look at the in terms of kilometers, it is around 5 kilometers, 5 rupees per kilometer. But for an ACE, it would be around 10 rupees per kilometer when you look at the total cost of ownership. It is very, very evident that the business models can be worked out, which are feasible. But why is it not clicking? Definitely, the reason is simple. If I'm an end customer, I'm given a choice. I'm given a choice to buy an electric vehicle. I'm given a choice to buy a diesel vehicle. And then a diesel vehicle of ACE is around 4.5 lakhs, example, or a diesel vehicle of Piaggio Ape is around 2.5 lakhs. And then the electric vehicle three-wheeler is around, say, for example, 3 lakhs. Now, why will I choose to pay 50,000 more upfront to get a vehicle of which I do not have any knowledge or confidence about? This is exactly what is happening in the B2C industry. That is why people are not picking up electric vehicles. But then, since the math is very clear, that is where institutional players like Avan India or any other startup can come into picture, because the end game is very clear, right? We will be able to make profits because the cost of running per kilometer is much cheaper. So if you want to get more profits, all you need to do is ensure that your vehicle runs as much as possible. Simple. If your business model is for about 2,000 kilometers, ensure that it runs 3,000 kilometers a month. Then your ROI in terms of the time would be even earlier, right? So when such models are worked out, and when the players come into owning the assets or hiring the drivers and then giving this as a solution to the customers, then I think it works. So it is not completely true that there are not feasible business models. It is possible. The total cost of ownership, we have just established that how electric vehicles cost, total cost of ownership is much lesser. Now I have spoken from the logistics and commercial perspective. Even for the individual vehicle level perspective, the math remains same. Clear? So we have covered charging infra. We have covered different various business models. Especially, we spoke from the EV place, from marketplace for EVs, and then we also spoke about what Avar India is offering as a product and what are the different areas other than manufacturing where you can kind of get in and start kind of engaging in the ecosystem. This is all spoken. Now the most important, let me put it, components and EVs being a marketplace for